On asexuality. We know that there's a lot of pressure on Valentine's Day around romantic love and monogamy and sexual connection and all types of normativity. So we've been taking the time to open up conversations that challenge those things. And I want, as always, to thank our sponsor, Iroha, who's been sponsoring all these talks. And they actually have been a really big supporter of Other Nature from the beginning. So a big shout out to them for all the work they do in supporting independent feminist sex shops. And my Schmalentines date tonight is Cody Daigle-Orians, an asexual writer and educator living in Hartford, Connecticut. He's a member of the ACE and ARO Advocacy Project, a Washington, D.C. based organization providing resources on asexuality and romanticism to the public. And he is the creator of ACE Advice, an online project that aims to help young people and those questioning their asexuality find the courage and confidence to live their best ACE lives. And an ACE Advice book will be published in January of 2023. So that's super exciting, and I'm going to me here on the video. Hi, Cody. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. I'm excited to be talking with you.
Yeah, same
Um,
here.
I'd love to start by asking how you came to identify as ace, and if you have tips for folks out there who might just be at the early stages of exploring their own asexuality.
Yeah, so I'm kind of a late bloomer as an ace person. I didn't come out as ace, recognize I was ace until I was in my 40s, and I was 43. And I sort of discovered asexuality on Tumblr. I sort of went through most of my adult life just sort of thinking I was like a broken gay guy. That was sort of how I understood how I was kind of navigating my own sexual orientation. And then I'm poking around Tumblr and reading posts by ace folks kind of describing their experience and how they were experiencing their asexuality. I recognized a lot of myself in that. And that set me off on a journey to sort of explore how asexuality might intersect with my experience. And, it intersected a lot. And so that was sort of how I came to asexuality. And in terms of like tips for someone who's at that beginning part, that to me is the best avenue to follow. Like once you sort of have this question in your mind, I think sometimes the language and discourse around asexuality can be sometimes overwhelming. You know, we have a lot of words and there's a lot of language around asexual identity. But seeking out content creators and people who are writing and talking about asexuality and how it works in their life is a really great way to make that exploration. When the language is overwhelming, just listen to ace people talk about what it means to be ace for them. And see where their experiences intersect with yours. There are tons of people on TikTok and Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr that are writing and talking about their lives in very open and frank ways. And I think those are like great resources when maybe the technical terms get overwhelming.
Thanks. Yeah, and thank goodness for platforms like this that I think are almost becoming the new university.
For
And
sure.
actually, we also learned about you through your TikTok videos. So, yeah, thanks so much for all the educational work you're doing there. And I think despite all of this work, though, there's still so much misconception out there about asexuality and the implications that it can have for people's romantic and intimate lives. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about the wide spectrum of intimate relationships that ace folks might pursue.
Yeah, I mean, something that I think is a really big misconception about asexuality and asexual people is that, you know, once we sort of identify as ace, that means we are kind of like blank slates, that we are, you know, not necessarily interested in connections of any kind or relationships or you know, like if we're not experiencing sexual attraction, we're not experiencing anything in that range. And that's just not true for ace people. Asexuality really just describes a person's relationship to sexual attraction. It describes not or rarely experiencing that one kind of attraction. It doesn't speak to any of the other ways that you can connect to another person. So, ace folks can pursue romantic relationships, they can pursue queer platonic relationships, they can pursue polyamorous ones, monogamous ones. All the possibilities of relationships are available to asexual people. The only thing that sort of separates us from others is that we experience sexual attraction differently. And another strong misconception is that asexual folks don't have sex, which is also not true for everyone. Sure, there are certainly ace folks who exist in sort of that sex averse and sex repulsed place where the idea or the idea of participating in sex has had very strong negative reactions, and that sex is not part of their lives. But you also have folks on the spectrum who are sex favorable and sex neutral, who seek out sexual partners or have like no real feeling anyway, and are happy to include it in a relationship if that's what the relationship needs. I identify as sex favorable, so sex is part of my relationships, but I'm not pursuing it because I'm sexually attracted to my partners. I don't experience that, but I can enjoy the physical closeness. I can enjoy the intimacy of it. It can be a way for us to share other attractions that we have for each other. And those are all valid reasons to also include sex in relationships. So asexuality doesn't really limit what's possible. You're still all the possibilities are still available for you. You're just experiencing one small sliver of that connection in a different way from other people.
Yeah, thanks so much for making that distinction. And yeah, I think it's also for all these reasons that you said, it can be very possible also for asexual people to be in relationships with allosexual people, or, you know, people who do experience and enjoy and desire sexual attraction. What are some of the important things that ace and allo folks should keep in mind when they're negotiating their needs with one another?
Yeah, so this I know about. I am polyamorous. I have two partners, and both my husband, who I've been with for 7 years, and my other partner Scott, who I've been with for about a year. They're both allo. So the ace allo thing is something that I live with a lot, all the time. And what's really important for us when we're negotiating those things, and particularly for me, is to be unafraid to be honest. Um, it's it's incredibly important when you're coming to the table, really with any partner, whether you're ace or allo or whatever combination there is, to really be completely honest with your partner about what your needs are, what your deal breakers are, what your boundaries are, what's a yes, what's a no, what's a maybe. And the more courageous you can be in that space, particularly when it's an ace allo relationship, the more courageous as the ace person you can be. Helps you work together to build the agreement and negotiation that works best for you. And this is something that, because I throughout my various platforms, I get a lot of questions about like how to navigate these things. And something that comes up a lot from ace folks that ask about navigating this is this feeling that they believe their asexuality is like a liability in the relationship, and they're thinking about who they are and what they want as an obstacle that they're going to have to overcome with their partner. And I think that's an incredibly important thing for ace people to switch in their mind, is to stop thinking about our asexuality as a problem to solve or an obstacle to overcome or a liability. It's a feature of who we are, not a bug. And when we can come to our partners, whether they be ace or allo, and treat our asexuality as it's just another cool thing, that a cool different thing we may bring to the table. We need to love it. We need to treat it that way. And if we present it that way, then we can work with our partner to figure out what really does work best for everyone. Not apologizing for your asexuality is an important thing to do when you're making these negotiations.
Awesome, thanks. So my next question isn't about asexuality specifically, but because I think Valentine's Day or holidays like it, I guess, can bring with them a lot of pressure for couples to be sexually intimate.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you have any advice for, folks across the ace-allo spectrum for embracing and affirming affection and love and care for our partners when we're declining sexual intimacy.
Yeah, so I think one of the kind of cultural ideas that we hold is that attraction is this big monolithic thing. When we're attracted to somebody, it includes all the parts. We're into them romantically, we want to have sex with them, we find them aesthetically appealing. It's all lumped together, and when we are attracted, all those things lump together. And that's not really how attraction works. When we're all of those different ways that we can be attracted to a person operate independently. Like for me as an asexual person, sexual attraction is a null set for me. That doesn't exist. But I do have romantic attraction to people. I am aesthetically attracted, all those other things. And I think a part of that idea of like lumping them all together is we sort of also believe that like having sex with the person you're attracted to is the way to affirm that big lumped attraction all at one time. And that it's the only way or the primary way, it's like the best way. And it's not necessarily so. I think recognizing and sort of sharing with your partner all of the other ways that you are into them and the other ways that you are attracted to them and want to kind of share space with them, share that emotional space, share that aesthetic space with them. You may not want to have sex with them, but you may like really just think they look smashing. Share that with them and share those other attractions. Those are equally valid ways to be intimate with someone that you care about, is sharing all those other attraction spaces and finding a way to communicate them, enjoy them, celebrate them, and nurture them.
Yeah, I think that's so on point what you said about all these different attractions supposedly being lumped together. And, sex as being also one of these central things that's supposed to be the ultimate way of expressing and receiving desire. And I'd love to end by challenging that a little bit. So I want to ask what some of your favorite ways are for exploring non-sexual intimacy and desire with other folks.
Yeah, so while I am sex favorable, sex is not always on the table for me with my partners. So I spend time with my partners kind of like talking about the other ways that I'm into them. And for me, sensual attraction, that like wanting to sort of experience physical touch or physical intimacy that's not inclusive of sex is like an awesome thing for me. And I think that if you can kind of communicate to your partner, like, sex is off the table, but here's the whole range of other things that we can sort of do together that would be awesome and fulfilling. That opens up a lot of doors. And I feel like it's all the real way to like explore is to have a lot of conversations. You have to talk a lot. Talk about all the other things that you can do together, so that you can share space that will be fulfilling, or that will not necessarily like take the place of sex, but provide another way to sort of express your closeness and share your closeness in that space. My husband and I are actually like we're going through, we have this this document that our couples therapist provided us. It's like this 7-page document that sort of details all the possible things that you could do with each other physically, and we're kind of working through this inventory together, to talking about like, okay, so this kind of touch, yes, this no, that's a maybe, that could maybe be safe for later. And it's a very instructive process. It takes away the idea that sex is the only way for us to be connected or be together or show that we care. There are like 7 pages of things that are possible in that regard. And having those conversations where you explore all those possibilities is super helpful.
Awesome. Any chance you'd be up for sharing a few of the things on those 7 pages?
just
Yeah, I
to
mean, it's
give
sort of
some
like,
inspiration for folks out there.
yeah, part of it is like talking about like what kind of touch and when and what context is good for you. Like cuddling in this context, cuddling with this. I like cuddling. We can make out and cuddle, but it also includes other things too, like that sort of how does kink come into the conversation? Is there kind of kink? Because kink also is a perfectly valid way to share an emotional connection with another person, and it doesn't have to be sexual. And yeah, so all sort of the inventories of all those kind of things. I like touching this part of my body. We can be physically close, upper half. We can touch with our hands, cool with mouths, like all of that very specific things. It feels maybe a little mechanical sometimes, like breaking it down into these very, very discrete and precise components. But it's helpful. It's helpful to really understand what you really are comfortable with, but also like it becomes conversation starters for fun things that you can explore together that you maybe hadn't thought about before.
Yeah, it feels very playful also, this dividing up the body and
Yeah.
areas and so on.
And for anybody who like really gets off on homework, like it's the perfect kind of thing. Like if homework is your jam, that would be a fun project to tackle.
Awesome. Cody, thank you so much for chatting with me. Any final words or projects that you want to tell folks about?
No, just like you can check me out here on Instagram or TikTok and other places. Just look for Ace Dad Advice. We're talking, I'm spending my time kind of communicating the fundamentals of asexuality and how to navigate being an ace person in the world. So if you're interested, come check me out there.
Awesome. Thanks again. Wishing everybody a great evening. And yeah, looking forward to your book, Cody.
Oh, yes. Same here. Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.